Economic development happens when money comes from outside a region into the region.
It's our job to serve people and to make their lives better.
I spend a lot of time in Garfield County, Enid in particular.
That's probably one of the hardest things, to get the good title.
Everyone deserves help.
And he's been very instrumental in trying to make this deal work out.
We're basically self-insuring 100% of the loss.
Now having a new measurement tool to make certain we're ready.
My old friend.
Some girls have even led adoption drives for local rescue agencies.
I want to try to focus on the things out of life that are positive.
City Connections begins right now.
Hello again, I'm Steve Kime with the City of Enid. Thank you for joining me today for City Connections. We appreciate the opportunity to come into your home and provide you an enlightening interview with a very special guest. And all the way from Oklahoma City, we have Leslie Osborn. Leslie was elected to the role of State Labor Commissioner in 2018. And so, Commissioner, welcome to the Enid Television Network studios.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you being here. We'll talk a little bit later on why you're in the big city of Enid, but thank you for coming up from the city. For folks in northwest Oklahoma that I think I've heard this name, Leslie Osborn, or they may even know the role of commissioner. Tell us a little bit about yourself, because serving is not new to you.
Right. Well, and prior to this, I was in the state legislature for 10 years, the Oklahoma House of Representatives, representing District 47, which was the Tuttle and Mustang area. Okay. But before that, I had my own business for 22 years in Tuttle. Osborn Pickup Accessories was the state distributor for Easley and Ranch Hand Grill Guards. So I grew up on a cattle ranch. It was an ag sales business. I sold that about 7 years ago. So about 10 years ago, I was recruited to run for the House from somebody that was going to retire and had never done anything political and just decided to give it a try. And so like I said, about a decade in the legislature and now a couple of months at the Department of Labor.
So from trailer hitches to the legislature.
Right, right. An interesting path.
That's interesting. Okay, the Commissioner of Labor. People hear about the department, or they'll hear something on the news about the Department of Labor for Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. Your role as commissioner, can you kind of give us this 50-word or less?
I can, and it's always want to say most people don't know. Most people assume when you hear labor that it's going to be about union versus non-union issues. I think prior to the passage of right to work that was true, but I in particular, when I went out and ran this year, reached out to union and non-union groups for endorsements and working with, and was endorsed by both sides of that aisle because we actually do a lot for the safety of workers across the state, and I don't think that should matter whether you're a Democrat or Republican, a man, a woman, a union, or a non-union member. The things that we still do in that labor field are wage and hour division. We also have a child labor law division. But besides that, we're really a regulatory agency in a lot of ways. We check things to make sure we're keeping citizens safe. Things that we all take for granted, that every public access elevator, amusement park ride, boiler, all those types of things that somebody once a year is checking them for safety. And then we offer a plethora of consultation services to public and private entities across the state for free to keep their employees safe.
We'll talk a little bit more about the amusement ride role in just a few moments. If you would, can you kind of give us a snapshot of your department? How many employees you have? Is everybody located in the city? Are they across the state? Or?
It's been kind of an interesting dynamic, and it's one that, leaving the legislature, there's not a lot of roles you would want. Some of our agencies are not run as well. This is a really clean, neat agency, about 80 employees. Used to have, in the past, a high of about 120. We have a central Oklahoma City office, but we have regions, and about 30 of those employees telecommute. Used to have a Tulsa office, closed that. So I say from going 120 to 80, we're pretty lean and mean, very efficient. Governor Stitt keeps talking about accountability, and we ask for a yearly outside audit. We want to make sure that we're doing everything right. Sure. We're about 1/3 state appropriation, about 1/3 federal grants for these consultation programs, and about 1/3 from the people that we license across the state, everything from welding certifications to alarm and locksmith. We administer those programs and licensing.
I don't want to assume this for everyone, but I think most Oklahomans have heard of the Department of Labor. They may kind of question what the role is, and you've shared what that's all about. But let's go back. Let's have a history lesson, if you will. Let's go way back to the beginning. How did this Oklahoma Department of Labor group, organization, how did it get started and kind of why?
Right. Well, I think most of that came off of what was the federal government required. So we've all heard of OSHA.
Right.
Occupational Safety and Health Administration. And so what their recommendation was that all states would have an entity within doing things for occupational safety. So, you know, years and years ago, and probably prior to unions that pushed a lot of those things, there weren't many safety standards in businesses. Many more people died on the job in occupations. So it's a lot of programs that kind of came across, but it's very different in every state. One interesting thing is we're one of only 7 states that have the primary jurisdiction over public safety and those jobs. So we offer free safety consultation services to every city, to every county, and to every school in the state of Oklahoma, and have the primary jurisdiction on making sure that they stay safe, that we go out and we will conduct seminars. We'll talk about them if there's different jobs that might need some type of specialty equipment or different things. We do a lot for public sector and private sector employees.
I can even recall my short professional life of things safety-wise that you do today, or what you did way back then. There's no way you would do those
Right.
today. Are there some things in the last 10, 20, 30 years that just kind of stick out to you that has really changed? And we can focus on safety if you like, that you could do that in the 70s and 80s, but there's no way you could do it today. Is there anything that comes to mind?
I will say a lot of the things that we've picked up are not always going to be the same at every Department of Labor across the nation. So for instance, about 5 years ago, when I was in the legislature, the compressed natural gas industry came to me. And they said, did you know that nobody is regulating the people that actually are doing vehicle conversions? You're basically putting a missile in the back of a car. Mm-hmm. They have guys on Craigslist out there. They're using non-EPA certified kits. We would like some industry regulation. Well, this is a rarity. If an industry is asking for government to be involved, they want to make sure they're keeping bad actors out, but they also don't want to be we don't want to be overly burdensome. So we went in, and now anybody that does those conversions has to go through some amount of safety training. They have to be registered with us. We check pumps across the state, public access pumps for safety and calibration. But most of these things that we've done over the years, like elevators, amusement park rides, happen because there was an accident in some area. And then people at the legislature would say, you mean we don't check amusement park rides? Nobody's doing that? Who should we give this responsibility to? And this is where you just kind of end up with an amalgamation that may be a little different. The things like wage and hour divisions, child labor, and the safety consultation would be more synonymous with all states. But a lot of these other things are things that could be at Corporation Commission. They could be with us. They just happen to have been put into statute for us to do.
I was going to ask, you just brought up a point about what used to take place didn't take place today. And I'm curious about other states. Do you feel like there's this uniformity between all the states in regard to safety and the Department of Labor? Or are there states more restrictive, less restrictive? Or if you could just kind of give an overview of all 50 states, or is everybody on an even keel?
Well, overall, we're all under the jurisdiction of the Federal Department of Labor as far as workplace standards, as far as things like overtime rules or how you pay employees, and as far as like making sure that the basics are there for safety. But each state does do it different. And like I said, we've tried to be very proactive in Oklahoma on reaching out with these free, confidential consultation services. So for instance, if you're Boeing, you can afford to have a full-time safety consultant. If you're a small trailer manufacturer, 20 employees, you probably can't. Sure. If you have somebody that's willing to come in and say, we'll come in, we will assess your needs, we'll draw up a plan, work with us, you're going to get your workers' comp insurance cheaper, you're going to keep your employees safer. We've been extraordinarily proactive on that front in Oklahoma. It's one of the things we're doing right. Because of that, we have one of the lowest rates in the nation of people being injured on the job in Oklahoma. So once in a while, it's nice to hear something we're doing right.
Let's go to one more question before we take a short break, and let's go back to your office setting there in Oklahoma City. Is it an office setting that John Q. Public, if I can use that name, can walk into your office building and say, I need help with this?
Absolutely.
I mean, is that type of accessibility?
So we have a great website. It tells every division and statutorily the things that we're in charge of. Like I said, everything. Say that you wanted to start a new business with inflatables. Inflatables are under our amusement park division. You'd pull it up, you'd see who'd make an appointment or just come into the front desk. We have people walk in off the street all the time about maybe getting a certification for welding or something like that. 2, I'm not being paid what my contract says. Do you have someone that can help me? Now, if you're in a higher lucrative career, you're probably going to lawyer up and go to district court. But if you're in a certain wage level where you can't afford that, we have ALJs, administrative law judges that come in. We have monthly hearings. We can actually do those things for people for free. So we offer a lot of great services. So absolutely, I think we're very interactive. We also have a request in to be able to do even more of that online, but that'll take the state allowing us to take our IT steps one step further, where you could come into a kiosk and get a lot of things done, or maybe even renew your licenses online. We're working towards going to that next step as well.
Well, when we take a short break, we'll come back. We want to talk about one of the reasons why you're in Enid, Oklahoma today.
Okay.
So thank you for joining us on City Connections today. My very special guest, again, was elected in 2018 as a state labor commissioner for the Oklahoma Department of Labor, Leslie Osborn, and we'll have more with the commissioner right after this. Thanks for watching. Welcome back to City Connections. Thank you for taking time to watch our program today. I continue to get comments all the time out in the community that you're watching the show. Thank you very much for watching, and please send me an email and let me know if you have somebody on your mind that you would like to see as a guest. Well, our special guest today, all the way from Oklahoma City, is the Commissioner of Department, State Labor Commissioner, I should say, Leslie Osborn. Mrs. Osborn, or Commissioner, you were in town to recognize the R.C. Parrish organization and companies. Everybody's very familiar with the legacy of R.C. Parrish and the work that they do and the companies they have. And I had to deal with the SHARP Award, and forgive me for looking at my notes, but SHARP is the Safety and Health Achievement Recognition Program. Mm-hmm. No wonder we call it SHARP.
Right, right.
So you're in town to recognize the companies for their achievements. Tell us about the SHARP Award.
So that's our highest designation.
Okay.
This means this is a company that has gone above and beyond.
Okay.
They have, their rates have to be lower than the national average for whatever industry they're in for workplace injuries. They have worked with us on those consultation services that we do, and they have drawn a plan. They've adhered to the plan. They can stand up to spot checks. They're doing everything possible to keep their employees safe on the job, which is wonderful. So whenever we have somebody that does this across the state, we go out yearly, annually for anyone that receives that certification. For the 3 here and the one in Blackwell that they own as well that we did a few weeks ago, this is multiple times that all of these different areas of this company have done this. And it really does prove to the employees how seriously they take keeping their employees safe, and that's not something that every company does. It's a rare thing to receive the SHARP designation as many times as they have, so it was a real honor to come today, meet a lot of the parish member family members, and just to see what they do. We toured all 3 facilities here. It was very interesting. You
said something that really got my attention just a moment ago, that not all companies treat safety kind of the same.
Right.
The ABC organization, it's off the scale on safety, and then you go to the XYZ group, and they're safe, but it's not.
Right.
So what role would you have to kind of make sure that all the entities in the state give the full recognition to safety?
Well, what we try to do is promote those consultation services. Okay. Like I said, not every state in the nation does what we do on offering these. Okay. So we're pretty busy at the Capitol right now through the end of session, legislative session, but come June through December, I've been reaching out to Chamber of Commerces across the state to see if I could get in maybe 1 a week somewhere and talk about these things that we offer. So if you are a company under 500, most of them that we deal with are under 250. These are the ones that probably don't have a full-time safety consultant on staff. We will come out, assess your needs, walk through the business with you. If interested at that time, draw a contract, come in, do safety training, show where to rope off areas, proper ventilation. it's beneficial to the companies in that they're keeping people safe, but it's also beneficial in that if they receive those designations, they are going to get lower compensation rates from workers' comp too, their insurance rates. So it's a win-win, and it's something we do very well in the state. So the main thing is just getting out there and getting companies to recognize we do that.
I believe you just answered my next question, which was going to be, how do people know they're protected? I think in the workplace now, there's so many things that are just given, or it's the natural workplace. But really, the safety, like you said, the roping off areas and safety glasses and hard hats and the shoes and all of these things, we may take that for granted as normal attire or safety attire, but it took some while to put those things in place.
Well, and it's certainly not always been the norm. And to be honest, years and years ago, that's why unions started. Because there were employees, you know, in Europe to the United States and places that it really wasn't anything if you could get that cheaper labor as quick as possible, and it wasn't a priority. In the United States it is now, and the Federal Department of Labor had a lot to do with that. I myself grew up on a farm, and I look back at some of the things we did with no-cab tractors to four-wheelers without helmets to auger shields removed when we were in the wheat field. Horrifying when I look at now. But I think people all the time with education are realizing you just can't do that, and I think we all value life. So that's one of the things we really push for.
Commissioner, this is not a gotcha question. I never do gotcha questions. That's a promise. But this is kind of it may put you on the spot a little bit. So the question is simply this: is safety a workplace issue in Oklahoma? Does a lot more attention need to be placed on safety, or do you feel like we're doing good as a state?
In all honesty, I feel like we are doing well because of what I told you. We have to send in, one of the things that we do is we send data constantly to the Federal Department of Labor. Now what they regurgitate back to us is how we're doing in correlation to other states on people injured on the job. We are consistently in the best segment of doing what we can proactively and having the least amount of people injured on the job compared to other states. We're always in that best percentage block, but we keep watching that to make sure. So I know I looked at something recently that had a 10-year average, every year still going the right direction. At some point, if we plateau, do we need to up what we're doing and do even more? I think that will be pushing, marketing these different services we offer to the state for free. But at this point, I think we're absolutely on the right track and doing the right things.
That sounds good. And I think it's reassuring to us as Oklahomans to know that there's a benchmark, or there is the accountability that you are monitoring the statistics to make sure that we're going in the right direction. Well, earlier when you were talking about the role of the Department of Labor, you touched on amusement rides, and Enid is well known for its Meadow Lake Park and some of the rides that we have here. Let's talk more specifically about the carnivals. State fairs comes to mind. There's one in Tulsa. There's one in Oklahoma City. As a kid growing up in the big city of Perry, we'd have a carnival that came through, and I doubt if there was, at that time, I doubt if there was any safety concerns. But what role does the Department of Labor have? And let's say carnivals.
Well, it's a division we take very seriously. You know, it's easier if you are one that's set up, say, a Whitewater, a Frontier City. A lot of these that are just permanent establishments, they're on yearly schedules, and they know exactly what to be looking for. In fact, I've given several awards since I've been there to Incredible Pizza, which I had no idea. The Tulsa and Oklahoma City, these are like 100,000 square feet under roof. They have things in there from bumper cars to small roller coasters. But all of those type are pretty much have safety consultants, and they're there and they're used to their yearly schedule. They all have people that are trained to federal standards. There's a lot of conventions that people have to go to for continuing education at least once a year to make sure we're keeping up to date. What we really have to watch is every small town fair and carnival, and even now inflatables. You know, at first nobody thought much about inflatables, these bouncy houses, and then you'll hear about one that blew down the street with some kids in it, and kids will die. Well, there needs to be proper staking, there needs to be things like that, so now we register those as well. Water parks, even if it's attached to a lake or something. If it's a public access and it's for amusement, it's under our jurisdiction. And so we have a huge template back at the office that we send out constant certifications, anything that's changed on safety standards. And anytime somebody has something new piece of equipment or whatever, we go out immediately. We have regional people. Now, it's a lot busier in the summer, spring, summer, and fall.
Makes sense.
So what we've done to be more efficient with taxpayer dollars is a lot of the people that are trained in that area in the winter when it's not near as busy have cross-trained to do things like elevator inspections or boiler inspections so that we keep them on the same consistent amount of busy all year long and maybe lower the amount of employees we needed over here. So it's been a real good division, but it's one of those things you never want to take for granted. We need to keep the public safe.
Well, Commissioner, you've been very accommodating today. I've asked you numerous questions. You've been very forthcoming. It's been very enlightening to tell us what the Department of Labor is all about. The final question is not really a question. I just want to give you the platform or the opportunity to speak to the folks here in Enid and Northwest Oklahoma. And one of those camera lights is going to come on, and you can see the red light there. You can speak to that one.
Okay.
But anything that you'd like to share, this is your opportunity to do so.
Well, the one thing I'd like to do is promote those safety programs. So if you do have a business or are aware of a business anywhere in this area or in the state that has, 500 or less employees, and that could be down to 5, know that we do have at the Department of Labor those divisions that will come out and offer free safety trainings. We will do seminars, even for smaller cities and schools that can't afford those types of things. You'll hear about somebody that dies in a trenching accident in a small town, those types of things where they don't have as much of the equipment. We recently ran some legislation where we could acquire a small fund through general revenue to actually help outfit small businesses or cities or schools with that needed equipment if they couldn't afford it on their own. So first and foremost, we're about safety of citizens, safety of workforce. We have a great website. Pull us up, and if there's anything we can help people with, we'd like to do that.
Very good. Well said.
Thank you.
Commissioner, thanks for coming to Enid, Oklahoma.
Absolutely.
And any topic that comes up that you need to tell the world, especially in our part of the state, feel free to stop by the Enid Television Network studios.
Okay.
We'll have you on again and keep everybody informed.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you. And thank you for joining us once again on City Connections. Again, it's our pleasure each and every week to provide you a guest and talk about things that's going on in Enid, what's going on in our great state of Oklahoma. So thank you for watching. And again, on behalf of the Enid Television Network, I'm Steve Kime with the City of Enid. Thanks for watching. Until next time, make it a great day.